Okay, welcome everyone. In our previous lecture, we spoke about Nowruz, the new year for the Sabians, when the sun god came out of the egg, right? The egg that was created by the hidden sun and the hidden Venus or the hidden moon. I want to read to you from the Egyptian sources, Plutarch's Morals, for they are of opinion that to the lights of the moon the rising of the Nile bear a certain analogy. So with the rising of the moon, or with the light of the moon, it resembles the rising of the Nile, or the flooding of the Nile, basically. For the greatest rising, that about Elephantine, is of 8 and 20 cubits, the same in number as the lights and measures of her monthly revolutions. The lowest, around Mendes and Xios, I'm not sure, is of 6 cubits, analogous to her half-quartering, and the mean, that round Memphis, when it is of the regular height, is 14 cubits, corresponding to the full moon. So basically he's telling us that the moon is associated with the Nile River. Okay? Apis, the sacred bull, they say is the animated image of Osiris, and he is conceived when a generative light falls strongly from the moon and touches a cow that is in heat, for which cause many of the decorations of Apis resemble the appearance of the moon. Many of the decorations of Apis resemble the appearance of the moon. So they link the moon with this sacred bull. For he blackens over his shining parts with dusky robes, because it is on the new moon of the month. Feminath, that they hold the festival called by them the entrance of Osiris into the moon, being the commencement of spring. See that? So they have a celebration at the beginning of spring. The beginning of spring is the vernal equinox, 21st of March. Nowruz, basically. They hold a celebration. And this celebration is called the entrance of Osiris into the moon. Okay, this is very interesting. It's not exactly on Nowruz. They're following a lunar month. So he tells us that it's on the new moon of the month of famine that they hold the festival called by them the entrance of Osiris into the moon, being the commencement of spring. Thus they place the power of Osiris within the moon, and say that Isis, being the cause of his birth, is also his consort. So Isis, previously we read, is Venus. We've said that Aditi is Isis and Aditi is Venus, meaning Isis is Venus. And Venus here, we're told, is both the wife of Osiris and the mother of Osiris. Right? This is similar to the sun and the moon, or the sun and Venus. You know, the sun and Venus copulate and they produce an avatar of the sun. And this avatar of the sun marries his mother, and you know there's an incest relationship, and the stuff that we've read from previous sources. So here's the question: does this mean that Osiris is the sun? Not quite. Let's carry on reading. On this account, they call the moon the mother of Saturn, and hold that she is of hermaphrodite nature. Hermaphrodite means androgynous, both male and female, for she is filled and impregnated by the sun. See that? So what does this mean? First of all, it means that the sun is the husband of the moon, right? The moon is filled and impregnated by the sun. The sun and the moon are husband and wife, according to the Egyptians. And Osiris is Saturn. Osiris is planet Saturn. And he seems to be heavily associated with the sun. Previously we read that the world of light or heaven basically, is called the world of Osiris. Now Saturn, for anyone who doesn't know, it takes a very long time to circle around the sun. Okay, it takes us a year to circle around the sun. Planet Earth takes a year to circle around the sun. I think planet Saturn takes around 29 years to circle around the sun. I've written it down. Not sure where I've written it down, to be honest. Yeah, it says here it takes him 29.4 years to orbit the sun. So Saturn takes 29.4 years to orbit the sun. This explains to us why Osiris is called, or why the heaven is called the world of Osiris, because Osiris takes a very long time to orbit the sun. He stays in place. He's very stable, right? It's a very stable planet, basically. The Hindus view planet Saturn as the god of karma, right? So a very important deity for the Hindus. And we see here that Saturn is also a very important deity for the Egyptians. You know, he's described as the Lord of the world of light, basically. So Isis, that's Venus, is the mother and consort of Osiris, that is Saturn. So Saturn could be thought of maybe as an avatar of the sun. I'm not sure. She is filled and impregnated by the sun, and again she emits and disseminates in the air generative principles. For that she doth not always express the mischief wrought by Typhon, but being after conquered by the birth and bound thereby, she nevertheless emerges again and fights her way through to Horus. This later is the universe surrounding the earth, which is not entirely exempt either from generation or destruction. This is a very interesting statement that we're seeing. So the Egyptians used to celebrate the coming of the spring. As we've seen, the sun and the moon are husband and wife. Saturn is Osiris, and he's seen as the husband of Isis. Osiris is the husband of Isis, and she also caused his birth. So what does this mean? What does it mean that Isis caused the birth of Osiris? Isis is Venus, and as I've told you guys, Venus is associated with the moon. She's the avatar of the moon, and she's the avatar of the earth. So the cosmic lord copulated with the earth, and he produced the planets. So the cosmic lord, the hidden sun, copulated with the hidden Venus and produced the planets. Therefore, Venus is also the mother of Osiris. She's also the mother of Saturn and his consort also. It's not just the mother, she's also his consort. See that? Okay, so this is very interesting stuff. The 5 intercalary days. Panja, Parwanaya. We're just going to be calling it Panja, to be honest. The 5 intercalary days. Intercalary, for anyone who doesn't know, means days added to the year. For example, they had 360 days, right? And they were missing 5 days. So those were the 5 intercalary days. Otherwise, if the year is only 360 days, and they move to the next year without those 5 extra days, they're going to have a corrupted calendar. Meaning, after a very long time, summertime might be springtime, or summertime might turn into wintertime, because it's not aligned with the seasons. The calendar is not aligned with the seasons. So you have to add in those 5 days to align your calendar with the seasons and have 365 days. The Mandaeans have a solar year, which is divided into 12 months of 30 days each, with 5 intercalary days named Panja, which fall between Virgo and Libra. These 5 days are called days of light. Mandaeans are forbidden to pray after sunset at other times of the year, but during the nights of Panja, darkness is considered non-existent, and praise and prayer flow continually. Barriers between this world and the world of light are down. If a person dies during the sacred 5 days, he or she will pass quickly through the purgatories. The Mandaeans believe that during the Panja, 5 celestial beings of light were created. And these are the 5 planets as I'm going to show you. And that consequently, the doors of the world of light are open during these 5 days. My note, usually the intercalary days are added at the beginning of a year, Nowruz, but the Mandaean calendar is faulty as was mentioned by Lady Trower. Unfortunately their calendar is faulty. From the Zoroastrian sources, Fraverdagen is a 10-day celebration at the end of a year, just before Nowruz. The festival is divided into 2 5-day halves. The first half is known as the Lesser 5, during the last 5 days of the final month, and the second half, forming the 5 intercalary days, is known variously as the Greater 5 and Gathic days. Among Persian Zoroastrians, the entire festival may be referred to as Panji. Similar to the Mandaeans who call it Panja, the festival is in honor of the spirits of the dead. The human soul, which in pre-Zoroastrian times was believed after death to pass a shadowy existence in the underworld, from where it returned once a year to its former home at the feast of Fraverdagen, it then received prayers and offerings from its descendants, whom it rewarded with blessings. So here's my note. We've said 10 days, shouldn't it be 5 days? They had a calendar problem, 360 days without the 5 intercalary days. That's why it's 10 days, not 5. The holy 5 days were before the end of the year. They added 5 intercalary days that were supposed to replace them, but people rejected them, so they kept both. Okay. What this means is that they were celebrating these 5 days just before the beginning of the new year, just before Nowruz, but they noticed that they had a calendar problem. The calendar is no longer aligned with the seasons, so they had to add in the 5 intercalary days. And when they came in to add those 5 intercalary days, they told the people, you can forget about those previous 5 days, the 5 days of the final month, and just pray and venerate and worship on the 5 intercalary days. People were not happy with that. They told them, no, we're going to keep our traditions and we're going to be celebrating the 5 final days of the month. So they had to keep both the 5 final days of the month and the 5 intercalary days, and they celebrate both. Receiving the gifts and veneration of their descendants, they were bidden a ritual farewell at the following dawn, withdrawing before the sun rose to bring in the new year. Now this ancient custom was suddenly challenged by the insertion of 5 extra days between the 30th of the last month and Fraverden the first month, and profound bewilderment and distress resulted. The new days were roundly termed the stolen ones, because it was felt that they had been thieved somehow from the familiar year. And when they were first introduced, they appear to have been as far as possible ignored. The observance of the official Nowruz and all the other feast days must have been enforced, quite possibly on pain of death, according to the new calendar, but the people at large evidently still kept in private what they believed to be the true holy days 6 days earlier in every case. From the Greek sources we read They say that the sun, when he became aware of Rhea's intercourse with Cronus, invoked a curse upon her that she should not give birth to a child in any month or any year. But Hermes, being enamored of the goddess, consorted with her. Later, playing at draughts with the moon, he won from her the 17th part of each of her periods of illumination. And from all of the winnings he composed 5 days, and intercalated them as an addition to the 360 days. The Egyptians even now call these days the 5 intercalary days, and celebrate them as the birthdays of gods. See that? So the Egyptians celebrate these days as the birthday of gods, and the Mandaeans tell us the same thing. 5 gods were born on this day. 5 super important gods. On the first day, this is from the Hindu sources. So the Mandaeans, the Zoroastrians, the Egyptians, and the Greeks, let's go ahead and read from the Hindu sources. On the first day of Holi, burning of the demoness Holika, Hiranyakashipu's sister, in a huge bonfire at night. It is called as Kama Dahanam in Andhra Pradesh. On the second day, known as Dulindi, people spend the day throwing colored powder and water at each other. The spring season, during which the weather changes, is believed to cause viral fever and cold. Thus, the playful throwing of the colored powders has medicinal significance. The colors are customarily made of neem, kumkum, haldi, bilva, and other medical herbs prescribed by Ayurvedic doctors. A special drink called thandai is prepared, sometimes containing bhang. Ranga Panchami occurs a few days later on a Panchami, the 5th day of the full moon, marking the end of the festivities involving colors. So they celebrate the 5 days after Holi. Okay, the 5 days after Holi are celebrated. This is not 5 intercalary days like the Zoroastrians or the Mandaeans. These are not intercalary days, but they celebrate the first 5 days after the Holi celebration. So from the Egyptian sources, during the period of the last day of the Egyptian civil year through the New Year festival, the world was in a transitional stage from one year to another. The 5 intercalary days were called the birthdays of certain Heliopolitan gods. The names of these days were the birth of Osiris, the birth of Horus, the birth of Seth, the birth of Isis, and the birth of Nephthys. Collectively, these days were called the 5 days upon the year. So, previously we associated these 5 with the 5 planets, Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, Saturn, Venus, and we've associated Nowruz with the sun. Only the moon is left. Okay, so Nowruz, we know the sun came out on Nowruz. These 5 deities were produced when the earth and the sky cohabited together, and these are the 5 planets, the 5 retrograde planets. That leaves us with the moon. I'm going to show you the moon later. It's not going to be right now, it's going to be later on. We're going to talk about the celebration of the moon. The first day of the first month of the new year is going to be the day of the moon. So you're going to have Nowruz first, and then 5 intercalary days, and then the first day of the first month of the new year, is going to be the day of the moon. But before that, let's go over to the Yazidis. In the beginning, God created the white pearl from his own beloved essence, and he created a white dove whom he named Enfer. He placed the pearl on its back and sat on it for 40,000 years. The first day which he created was Sunday. On that day he created an angel whose name is Israel, or Israel, that is Malik Taus, who is the greatest of all. On Monday he created the angel Dirda'il, who is Sheikh Hassan. On Tuesday he created the angel Israfil, who is Sheikh Shams. On Wednesday he created the angel Mikael, who is Sheikh Abu Bakr. On Thursday he created the angel Jibrail, who is Sajad ad-Din. On Friday he created the birds and beasts. On Friday he created the angel Shimna'il, who is Nasruddin, and Saturday he created the angel Tura'il, who is Fakhruddin. Fakhruddin created men and animals and birds and beasts and placed them in the folds of his habit together with the angels who came out of the pearl. So these angels, these 7 angels that were created on the first 7 days, are the planets, the spirits of the planets. Okay. Traditions then recognize one God, the primeval creator, who initially fashioned the pearl, a small round object which contained all the elements that were found that formed the universe. You know, sometimes when I copy paste I get issues like this, which contained all the elements that created the universe or brought about the universe. He then invoked a heptade of angels or divinities with whom he made a covenant, and whose leaders can be regarded as the Lord of this world. And their leader is Malik Taus, the peacock angel. The Yerasin tradition explicitly mentions a bull sacrifice in connection with the covenant. The annual sacrifice of a bull during the Yazidi Feast of Assembly, when Malik Taus and the heptade are held to be gathered in order to decide the events of the coming year, suggests that in Yazidism also the primeval gathering of the heptade was believed to be accompanied by such a sacrifice. So they used to make a sacrifice, the Yazidis, they make a sacrifice on the beginning of the year. Okay, during a festival. It's not the beginning of the year, I'm sorry, but it's related to the beginning of the year. I'm going to explain this, okay? The evidence of the Zoroastrian cosmology. Several elements of this myth strongly resemble the Zoroastrian account of creation of the material world. A cosmogony in 2 stages, a heptade of divine beings who are in charge of the world and have links with the elements of which the creation consists, are all found in Zoroastrian traditions. The writer continues to talk about the story of creation. In Zoroastrianism, I'm not content with his summary, so I made my own. Let's go ahead and read how the Zoroastrians believe the world came to be. The Zoroastrian creation myth says that in the beginning there was nothing in the world but Ahura Mazda, the wise lord who lived in the endless light, and the evil spirit Ahriman, who lived in absolute darkness. And between these realms was emptiness. One day Ahura Mazda decided to make different creations. First he shaped the sky made of metal, shining and bright. Second he made pure water. Third he created the earth, flat and round with no mountains or valleys. Fourth he made the plants, moist with no horns. Fifth created the bull. Then the Zoroastrian creation myth continues. He created the first man called Geomard, bright, tall, and handsome. Last he created fire and distributed it within the creation. The wise lord ordered fire to serve mankind in preparing food and overcoming cold. The evil spirit peeked out of his dark world to see all of the amazing new creations. The wise lord called him and said, "Evil spirit, aid my creatures and give them praise so that you may be immortal." The evil spirit snarled, "Why would I aid your creatures? Why should I praise them? I am more powerful. I will destroy all of your creatures." Then he crawled back into darkness to shape demons, witches, and monsters to attack the endless light. The wise lord, who is all-knowing, he knew what the evil spirit was doing, and he also knew that there would be a great battle with the dark side. So the wise Lord fashioned 6 spirits, the holy immortals, to guard his creation against the endless darkness. The wise Lord shaped the holy immortals from his own soul, each giving his own nature. The first Holy Spirit, based on the Zoroastrian creation myth, tell us was Khashatra, the righteous power guardian of the sky. Then he created Horvatat, peace and perfection. She was the protector of the waters. Next was Finta Armaiti, the holy devotion. She was the earth guardian. The other Holy Spirit, Amertat, the immortality, was the protector of the plants. Vohumana, the good mind, decided to protect the bull, and Asha Vahishta, the justice, was the guardian of the fire. Lastly, the wise Lord made his own Holy Spirit, protector of mankind. On the other hand, and these are the spirits of the 7 planets. Okay, he created the spirits of the 7 planets and gave every one of them a job. On the other hand, evil spirit Ahriman creates his hordes of dews to counter the creation of Ahura Mazda. The 6 archdemons are respectively Akuman of evil thought and equivalent to Avestan Achammana, Indar, that freezes the minds of the creatures from practicing righteousness, Naunatya, of discontent, Sorva, of oppression and desire, Torvi, the destroyer, and at last Zauri, who poisons plant creation. My note, Ahriman is part of the heptide of evilness, just like Ahura Mazda is part of the heptide of righteousness. And as I've told you guys, the 7 spirits are the spirits of the 7 planets. Now we're going back to the book. Ahriman made a renewed attack, which proved to be successful and led the second stage of the development of the material world, that of mixture. Ahriman penetrated the sky, polluted the waters, and made a hole in the earth, caused the plant to wither, killed the bull and the man, and tainted fire with the smoke. Initially it seemed Ahriman was victorious. Then movement entered the world, and the good creations began to fight back. Night alternated with day, the waters flowed, mountains grew up on earth, which was anchored by their roots. The first rain divided the original landmass into 7 continents. The dried plant was pounded and mixed with water, which caused plant life to develop, and the seed of the bull became the source of animal life, and the first human couple developed from the semen of the first man. Fire protected the world of righteousness and made life and movement possible. This is the stage in which we now live. It will end with the coming of the separation, when the powers of evil have been defeated. The Indo-Iranian myth of creation may thus have claimed that, by means of a primeval rite involving the sacrifice of a bull, Mithra, lord of fire, light and sun, he liberated creations from the confinement in a small cave-like space and brought light and movement to the world. Okay. This is similar to what we've previously read from Mithraism, that the bull was sacrificed and its blood fell onto the earth, and that brought about creation. And the source of this is the Egyptians, as we've said. The sun god Ra severed his private parts, and those fell into the earth and brought about creation. So the bull, the sacrifice of the bull, resembles the sacrifice of Mithra. Okay, the bull of Mithra, which brought about creation. Rites of pilgrimage in Kejna Kimaya, the festival of gathering or assembly. This feast is the occasion of a major pilgrimage to Lalish. It is one of the largest and most famous Yazidi feasts. Yazidis gather for 7 days from the 23rd of September to the 1st of October. So, this feast of assembly is related to the New Year. Okay, this feast of assembly is related to the New Year, but as you can see, the date of this feast is not aligned with the date of Nowruz, or the date of the New Year according to the Yazidis. Yazidis celebrate the Nowruz, or the New Year, as the first Wednesday of April. The first Wednesday of April is the New Year for the Yazidis. So you can see here that this is not aligned with the New Year, but it is the New Year. This has to do with the New Year. What I'm saying is, it's associated with the New Year. Okay, it marks the coming of the first 7 deities, the first 7 divinities, the first 7 planets, basically. During the first 3 days, general rituals are performed. On the 4th day of the feast, the ritual of baptizing with holy water and inaugurating Paris is performed. Paris are pieces of colorful fabric. They are placed on the tombs of the Yazidi sheikhs, and there are 7 sheikhs. On the 5th day, a key ceremony takes place in which 7 girls and 7 boys, dressed in fine garments representing the 7 great angels, a core element of Yazidi spiritual belief. According to the tradition, the angels gather at the heavenly Lailash during the festival to bless the congregation. So 7 boys and 7 girls, representing the androgynous nature of these deities, as I've told you guys. And it symbolizes the emergence of these deities. These deities were created on the first 7 days. Okay? On the 5th day, a bull is sacrificed in the Sheshemes shrine. It has many meanings that have links with the sun and nature in autumn. Page 166, footnote, the meaning of sacrificing the bull relates to Mithraism. On the 6th day, on the 6th day, called Throne of Yazid, one of the names of their god, Yazid, a copper throne is carried from shrine of Sheikh Adi, the sun god avatar, to the nearby pond in order to be baptized and then returned to the shrine. So, historian G. Habib believes that this ceremony is meant to resemble the sun's crossing the sky every day from east to west. Okay? So they carry Sheikh Adi, a statue of Sheikh Adi of copper, made of copper, have it baptized in a nearby spring and then, or nearby pond, and then bring it back, and this resembles the sun moving from east to west every day. But let's go ahead and read this together. Mithraism flourished in Rome in the 1st century BC, and extant wall reliefs, mosaics, and paintings juxtaposing constellations with ruling gods and goddesses tell us that astral divination was a part of Mithraic doctrine. In fact, this mystery cult was so popular that relics commemorating the bull slayer were discovered in the ruins of Roman settlements as far afield as the Scottish Highlands and the Sahara Desert. Whereas the Parsis regarded Mithras as a fertility god, whose capture and sacrifice of the sacred bull regenerated the earth, the Roman armies coveted him as the warrior sun god, possessing inordinate strength and courage. So as you can see, even the Romans celebrated the sacrifice of the bull. This sacrifice of the bull marks the beginning of creation. Okay, this bull sacrifice marks the beginning of creation. Finally, pilgrims take home some water of the Kanaya Sipi white spring and Zamzam as leaven for their production, for their agricultural wealth. Pilgrims have to take home a small branch of a tree that symbolizes participation in the pilgrimage. The mystical power of Mount Mishet, Mount Hizret, and Mount Arafat. The mystical power of trees and stones of the Lalish temple. So, the pilgrimage of the Muslims, right? We're seeing a copy of that pilgrimage in the Yazidi sources. They go on pilgrimage to the temple on the day of the New Year, the unofficial New Year, let's call it the unofficial New Year. They sacrifice a bull to replicate the sacrifice of Mithra, right? The bull represents Mithra, and so Mithra sacrificed himself in one way or another to bring about creation, right? And the 7 angels appeared on this day. This is very similar to the Hajj, the pilgrimage of the Muslims. When they go on Hajj, they have the Zamzam well, just like the Yazidis. We've read they go and drink from the Zamzam well. They go to Mount Arafat, just like the Muslims. The Muslims also have a Mount Arafat. It seems that this pilgrimage that the Muslims do is related to creation, the story of creation. Let's continue reading from the Yazidis. The Feast of Sacrifice, or the Feast of Arafat, the sojourn of Arafah, which many pilgrims seek to spend on the mountain of Arafah, and the sacrifice on 9th and 10th of Dhul Hijjah respectively are important ceremonies of the Muslim Hajj. Both have Yazidi counterparts. It is often stated that the Yazidi festival precedes the Islamic Eid al-Adha by 2 days. See that? A statement which presumably refers to the custom of killing an animal at this time. On the same date as the Islamic ceremony, it is said that sheikhs, kewals, and kushiks repaired to Sheikh Adi a few days before the actual feast and spent their time relating what happened to them in the earlier incarnations on the day of the feast. They prepare various foods. So my note, this is really interesting because Arafat comes from the word i'tiraf. Arafat comes from the word i'tiraf, which means confession. Later in the day they climb to the top of Mount Arafat, where they stay a short while. Then near sunset they run down from the mountain to the sanctuary, where they wash their hands and faces in the waters of Zamzam. The sources mention a few more festivals in which all Yazidis are said to participate. One of these is the Tawaf, circumambulation of Sheikh Muhammad, which takes place in Bashik immediately after the New Year. All of these ceremonies that the Muslims have, we see them with the Yazidis, and the Yazidis tell us these are related to the New Year. Okay, this is the New Year. Mount Arafat. Arafat, as we've said, means confession. It's related to confession. We've read previously that Kawals and Kochiks, basically priests, Yazidi priests, go to Sheikh Adi. Sheikh Uday is the founder of their religion. Okay? Uday is his name. I'm not sure why it's written as Adi over here. Sheikh Uday is the founder of the Yazidis religion. They go to his grave. They go to Sheikh Adi's grave, and he is a sun avatar. He's an avatar of the sun. And they confess their sins to him. Okay? They confess their sins to him. We see the same thing with the Muslims. During their pilgrimage, they stand on Mount Arafat and they confess their sins to the sun before the emergence of the new sun, so that their sins might be washed away with the coming of the new sun. I'm going to explain all of this, and we're going to talk about this. I'm going to explain everything. From the Zoroastrian sources, Patet is essential. The year is coming to a close with the 5 Gatha days, and one should say penitentiary prayers. That's the Patet. The Patet are penitentiary prayers for sins done knowingly or unknowingly. Patet in Pahlavi Patet means confession and comes from the Avestan Pateta, meaning expiation. See that? So the Zoroastrians also on the New Year have to confess their sins. The practice of bringing animals to the temple stems from an ancient mode of offering animals for sacrifice. In ancient times, such acts were meretricious acts of devotion, yet some Parsis today say that people of the old were wrong. Absolutely wrong. Today it is customary to bring a gift to the fire, though not a gift beyond one's means. Small chips of fragrant wood can be purchased in shops near the temple. What did God create during the 6 Gahampras? A. In the first Gahambra, he created the sky, in the second water, third the earth, the fourth vegetation, the fifth animals, and the sixth men. This means that God created all creatures and fixed a time for remembering them in the Gahambras. What is the merit in celebrating each of the Gahambras? For celebrating the first Gahambra, the soul receives merit in the world equivalent to the merit accrued by giving 1,000 ewes with lambs to the holy person. Kings and persons of wealth might dedicate cattle and sheep for the needs of those priests and other holy persons. The priests needed animals for their sustenance, for milk, meat, and the plowing of fields, etc. Similar to our Hindu brothers, a Parsi today might give a live cow to the family priest in payment for his service rendered or as a gift to benefit the soul of a departed one. In this way, the cow is a source of income for the priest. It should also be noted that such cows are not slaughtered by food for the Parsis. So, during the New Year, these first 6 or 7 days, they give cows, not to be slaughtered, but they gift cows to the priests so that the priest can milk the cow, maybe make cheese out of its milk, plow the fields, but they don't offer animal sacrifices. Some of them offer animal sacrifices. Apparently there's a debate amongst the Zoroastrians on whether whether animal sacrifices are okay or not. So, and the same thing with the Hindus. The Hindus also, they don't sacrifice cows. Cows are sacred to them, so they don't sacrifice cows. But like I said, you can offer a cow to a priest on the New Year, so he can use it to plow fields or for sustenance. So let's look at the Hajj pilgrimage for the Muslims. The pilgrims arrive in Mecca and set their intention for Hajj. Day 1, perform tawaf. Tawaf means circumambulation around the Kaaba. And then perform sa'i. And sa'i between the hills of Safa and Marwa 7 times. And then travel to Mina to stay overnight. So you walk between these two hills of Safa and Marwa 7 times for the 7 deities. Day 2, depart from Mina. And then this is also during day 2. Spend the day in prayer at Mount Arafat. Overnight at Muzdalifah. The first day of Eid, Jamara stoning the devil in Mina. And then you sacrifice livestock. See that? So they stand on Mount Arafat. Okay. They spend the day in Mount Arafat, overnight at Muzdalifah. When the sun sets, they go over to the Muzdalifah. They stay in the Muzdalifah until sunrise. And then once sunrise comes, they go to throw the stones at the devil. So let's go ahead and read my note, and then we're going to read from the sources to try and understand what this means. This is very interesting. The Muslims' pilgrimage is on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, the 12th and last month of the Islamic lunar year. The first day they circumambulate the Kaaba. On the second day, 9th of Dhul Hijjah, at noon they head to Arafat. They stay there till sunset, then they head to Muzdalifah. They stay there till sunrise, then head to Mina to stone the devil 7 times in the 7 different locations. This day, the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, is the start of Eid al-Adha, which lasts for 3 days till the 13th of Dhul Hijjah, and is called Adha, root word meaning sacrifice, because cattle are sacrificed on this day. Let's get to the important stuff. Okay. And this is where it gets interesting. One of the rituals of pre-Islamic Hajj is the circumambulation of Safa and Marwa, and on them are 2 idols, Isaf and Na'ila, and the pre-Islamic people used to anoint them. Their circumambulation of them was equal to the circumambulation of the Kaaba, that is 7 times. Quraysh did this, but others did not. Others did not circumambulate these 2 deities. This means that Safa and Marwa Isaf and Na'ila most likely were tribal deities that the Prophet venerated with his tribe. He mentioned that a group of Muslims said, O Messenger of God, we do not circumambulate between Safa and Marwa, for it is polytheism that we used to do in pre-Islamic times. When the people of pre-Islamic times circumambulated between Safa and Marwa, they anointed their idols. When Islam came and the idols were broken, the Muslims hated to circumambulate between them for the sake of the two idols. So Allah Almighty revealed, Indeed, Safa and Marwa are among the symbols of Allah. Islam also replaced their circumambulation with simply walking to and from the two locations. See that? One of the rituals of Hajj of the people of pre-Islamic times is to stop at Arafat. This takes place on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah and is called the day of Arafat. From Arafat, the pilgrims head to Muzdalifah, and from Muzdalifah to Mina. The pre-Islamic people other than Quraysh used to flock to Arafat at sunset, and to Muzdalifah at sunrise. Pilgrims stand at Arafat from noon until sunset. The position of pre-Islamic people in Arafat at sunset may be related to sun worship. When the sun sets, the pilgrims head to Muzdalifah. In pre-Islamic times, pilgrims would depart from Muzdalifah to Mina at sunrise. Notice how it's all related to the sun. On the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, to throw stone and to offer sacrifices. The scholars mention that the polytheists did not leave Muzdalifah until sunrise, and the Prophet deferred from them, so he left before sunrise. The polytheists, by waiting for when the sun rises, is an indication of their sun worship. And that's why the messenger changed this time. See that? This is all a form of sun worship. The Muslims, they circumambulate the Kaaba, which is the egg from which the sun god Ra emerged. Then they go to Mount Arafat to confess their sins to the sun. When sunset comes, they go to the Muzdalifah to venerate and supplicate in front of the Lord. And then as soon as the sun comes out, they go to Mina. What's happening at Mina? Some people in the news mentioned that Amr bin Luhay set up 7 idols in Mina. Throwing stones at Mina is one of the rites and rituals of Hajj. It is one of the rituals of Hajj and is also known in the other pilgrimages in Arabian Peninsula. The people of pre-Islamic times did it as a matter of appreciation and veneration. Whenever one of them passed a grave and wanted to honor and glorify its owner, he would place a stone or stones on it. There are many places for throwing stones among the pre-Islamic people, and people circumambulate around them and make pilgrimages to them. Of them are places of idols, holy places, and among them are the graves of ancestors. The narrators attribute the principles of throwing stones to Amr bin Luhay. They mention that he brought 7 idols and set them up in Mina, on the edge of the valley, and in other places. He divided the stones between them, 21 pebbles, and each of them was thrown with 3 pebbles. And it was said to the idol when it was thrown, you are greater or larger than the idol that is thrown before you. One of the rituals related to Mina is the offering of sacrifice, which is Eid al-Adha in Islam. They would offer sacrifices on monuments and near the idols. Then it would be distributed among those present to eat as a group or given to individuals. It may also be left to vultures and land predators. So they stand on Muzdalifah from sunset to sunrise to supplicate and pray and venerate and worship. As soon as the sun rises, they go to Mina to throw stones at their 7 idols, which represent the 7 planets or the spirits of the 7 planets. And throwing stones was a form of glorification, as we've said. Once they're done throwing stones to welcome these 7 planets, or 7 spirits of the planets, they slaughter to mimic the sacrifice of the bull, Mithra. Right, so they sacrificed to mimic the sacrifice of the bull, Mithra, which brought about creation. This is the Islamic pilgrimage. To sum up, on the first day of Hajj, Muslims circumambulate the Kaaba. Okay, I mean, this is the stuff that I've just told you guys. But one thing that I would like to mention is that the word Mina, we've said the Muslims go to Mina to stone the idols, which resemble the 7 planets, as we've said. Nowadays, they don't have idols. They have a stone wall and they throw at the stone wall. But back then, they were throwing at idols. But Mina, where the idols are located or used to be located, in Arabic, the word is written in a way very similar to Mana, which is the supreme god of the Mandaeans, hidden sun, and the male counterpart of Manat. Okay, so I just wanted to share this with you. Mina, to me, sounds very close to Mana, especially in Arabic. It's written in a way very close to Mana. And Mana is the great god of the Mandaeans, the hidden sun. So, this is one note that I'd like to share with you guys. Next up, we're going to be talking about Nowruz Suta. Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this. Come back for some more information. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.